Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Teachers Retirement System Board meeting for March 15th, 2018, the Ides of March. By the Ides of March. I'm going to say that properly.
Beware. It said beware.
Beware, the Ides of March. Thank you. That's right. Okay, with that, let's move along and please call the roll.
That's right. John Adler.
I am here.
Thomas Brown.
Here.
David Kazansky.
Present.
Raymond Orlando.
I'm here.
Deborah Penny. Here. Susanna Vickers.
John Joseph for the controls office.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Okay, let's move along.
So the second item on the agenda is an update on TRS operations. Kavita Palmar is going to give us that.
Thank you, Patricia. TRS began work on the efforts to notify members required to take a minimum distribution from their TD account in 2018. In late April, TRS will be providing RMD notifications to an estimated 3,522 first-time RMD recipients. In addition, approximately 27,042 members that received RMDs last year will be notified of their requirement to receive another RMD this calendar year.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have more.
Oh.
TRS video content is now available on YouTube. Our content primarily includes informational videos for members such as website tutorials as well as archives of board meetings like this one. We look forward to further expanding our social media platform in the future, and we invite everyone to subscribe to a YouTube channel called TRSNYC. TRS's member education team is continuing its outreach efforts with a busy spring. Most recently, the team made a presentation at the UFT's annual Paraprofessional Festival on March 10th. April will feature visits to several CUNY campuses, plus appearances at union events for the CSA and PSE. In addition, the team will host at least 8 on-site sessions of the popular Getting Ready for Retirement program in April.
Thank you. All right, next we have a report from the actuary.
Thank you. So there are 3 items on my agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, we can do
Oh,
the report. Go ahead.
I did it out of order.
So the first item is pertains to Chapter 41 of the laws of 2016. This is the law that allowed the members to purchase military service not specific to a specific time or a region of the world that they served in. And this past fiscal year in 2017, there were 66 individuals that purchased 133 years of service. After they had paid their portion of the cost, the net cost of liability is $2,337,718. This is an amount that has already been paid, and this resolution would allow the retirement system to seek reimbursement from the state to reimburse the TRS for this amount. So there is a resolution.
So there is a resolution which we don't actually have in front of us. I know.
We do.
Oh, you do?
It's in,
It is?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
page 4.
Page 4. Great, thank you. So do we deal with it here or deal with it when we get to the executive director's report? I actually would propose that we deal with it here so that if there's questions we can ask Sherry.
Okay. Do you want me to go through the whole executive director's report and then get to that?
Well, why don't we just do the whole, let's deal with this one item first, the actuaries, chapter 41. So let's see if there are any questions for Sherry specifically on the chapter 41
Okay.
thing. And I do have one question.
Okay.
So Sherry, you said this has already been paid, right?
Correct.
And it's been paid
Because
by,
it's for fiscal year 17.
so it's been paid by the city, right?
Yes.
So then my question is, the resolve says that it's to be submitted to the state controller for audit, warrant, and payment to TRS. But wouldn't it be payment to the city of New York, since it's already been paid?
Yeah, we actually had that question because to your office, Sherry, and your office said we should leave it as is.
Okay.
I asked the
Payable
law
to TRS.
department to opine on that.
Well, the question wasn't raised initially, so I don't know that I thought about it in great detail. If the actuary's office believes it can be left as it currently stands, I think I'm inclined to accept that. I would like to think there would be a way of crediting the city for having made the payments, or the DOE for having made the payments, in the event that the money is ultimately returned by the state to TRS.
So I actually had a discussion not regarding this system, but regarding another system for which we also passed a similar resolution where it said reimbursable payment to the system, and OMB believes it actually should be payment to the city.
Well, I think eventually it's going to get back to the city, because once you for TRS, I mean, the money is going to be allocated to, one of the obligors or the city. And if it's allocated to the city, then you would get credit for it.
Okay, I don't know that I'm not, I don't know that I need to make a big deal about this. It's just that the voucher that gets submitted is actually asking the state controller to send payment to the Department of Finance for the city. So, that was the method that was used for the previous fiscal year.
Well, I believe that the previous fiscal year's vouchers were never submitted.
No, they are.
They were submitted by TRS, but they weren't submitted
Right.
from OMB to the state.
I understand, but I'm just saying that it was, the form that was used, it was a voucher that is to be paid to the city. Mm-hmm. So I just think that if that in fact is the case, we should, we should reflect that in the resolution. It is the case at least on the previous voucher. So again, I don't want to make a big deal about it. Maybe unless there is some time urgency to doing this resolution today, maybe we should just lay it over so that we can get clarification on that.
Or we could have, because this really is a resolution of the number itself, not the process. So we could just, strike some of that language out of, who the payment is to.
That'd be fine. Could we just say payment and just scratch out to TRS? That work, lawyers?
Or just for reimbursement of carrying out provisions of Chapter 41. And it doesn't have to say who it's to.
Yeah,
Because I don't know what the process is after this. I mean, that really is.
Well, I believe, Brian, this is the language that's specific to Chapter 41.
The reason for this kind of odd language is because of the odd language that is in Chapter 41, yes. So I agree with Sherry that I don't see a need for the resolution to dictate the process. Ultimately, how the bill gets submitted is not the greatest concern in the world to me.
Or reimbursed.
Yes, I think that there are ways to handle the allocation of the money in either event. And I would be comfortable with any approach whereby the voucher gets submitted in a timely fashion.
So why don't we just say, I would suggest that we say for audit warrant and payment as reimbursement for carrying out the provisions of Chapter 41.
So friendly amendment, is that what it's called?
That acceptable to everybody?
So we're striking out to TRS.
Correct. Okay, so thank you for accommodating me on that one. So is there a motion to adopt this resolution as edited from the original here regarding the actuary's fiscal year 2017 reimbursement calculation resulting from Chapter 41 of the laws of 2016?
So moved.
Thank you, Debbie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So, continuing with the actuary's report.
Okay. So the second item on my agenda is the employer contribution for fiscal year 2019. This is the preliminary employer contribution. I can go through the details of this calculation if the board would like.
Would anybody like Sherry to go through the details of the calculation, Tom?
Please lay this over. We want to discuss this further.
I don't think, is there action required on this? Right?
There is actually a resolution in the
Number 5.
in the package,
Page
but
5.
it was not submitted by my office.
The resolution is consistent with past practice of this board to adopt the preliminary contributions stated by the actuary.
So after some deliberation with Corp Counsel this past year to understand the process a little bit more, I decided to not go forward with a resolution and just a memorandum to promote efficiency, so that each of the obligors can get their invoices for what they owe for the fiscal year, and contributions can be paid timely. So that's why I did not submit a resolution with this memo.
But as Thad pointed out, it's the practice of this board to put it on the agenda.
So if there was a change in practice, we weren't informed of that.
Okay, so we weren't, this isn't my resolution.
Understood.
It's a resolution.
So we'll lay
So,
this over.
so if there's a request to lay it over,
I request
let's
to lay it over.
and then we can discuss whether we want to adopt a resolution or not, or not actually take it up.
And I think there's some questions that
No, I
they
think there's a
wanted to
resolution
address.
here. I think you have to lay it over.
Yeah, we're going to lay it over.
Yeah,
I'm saying
lay
not
it
today. We're
over.
going to lay it over today. Apart from the
Thank you.
resolution, would anybody like Sherry to discuss her memo regarding the preliminary fiscal year 19 contribution further today? Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Okay.
And then last item?
Last item is a fiscal note that actually went out after the deadline for the board submission, but it is included. It was sent out last Friday, March 9th, and it pertains to extending the deadline to file the notice of participation for World Trade Center. I do not believe it affects any of the teacher members. This was a fiscal note that was prepared for all 5 retirement systems in New York City, and there is no cost to it because I believe that most of the eligible folks who were there on 9/11 have already submitted their notification.
Any question for Sherry about that? This is a law, a bill that's been
Yes.
proposed in Albany. It's not yet been passed. So
Right,
Any
it's
question about the fiscal note that
Senate
Sherry?
Bill 7797.
What's the Senate bill number?
7797.
Oh, any questions for Sherry? Discussion of that bill? Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. So you want to go back to Executive Director's?
I do. So next on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. And the first item is the matter of the next meeting. It's been suggested that the next regular meeting of the Teachers Retirement Board be held on the 3rd Thursday of the month, April 15th, 2018. Just mark your calendars.
That
is not the
yeah, April
third Thursday.
15th
It's April 19th.
Right.
Is the third
is
Thursday.
Sunday.
I'm not available.
All right. So,
Yeah, it's April 19th.
Is that the Ides of April?
be held on the 3rd Thursday of the
the
month,
item.
April 19th, 2018.
Beware.
I'm sorry, April what?
April 19th.
Okay, so the second item on the agenda is authorization to the controller of the City of New York to invest certain funds.
Waive the reading, please.
Okay, so is there a motion to adopt a resolution to authorize the controller of the City of New York to invest certain funds?
So moved.
Oh, we did that together.
Let's say Mr. Kazansky, I think, made the
I've
motion.
done.
You got Mr. Brown?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
That's fine.
Mr. Kazansky, would you second the motion?
I would love to.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
We heard your vote.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
He wants to make sure.
The next
Dorsey,
item-
you don't get to invest.
The next item on the agenda is authorization to the controller of the City of New York to invest certain tax-deferred annuity funds.
Again, please waive the reading.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the controller of the City of New York to invest certain tax-deferred annuity funds?
So moved.
Thank you, Debbie. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kazansky. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Next is the adoption of divestment and exclusion policy.
I think we're going to lay this one over as well.
Yes.
Unless there's any objection.
All right.
Thank you.
The next is attendance at a conference. The following resolution is presented for consideration of possible adoption. Resolved that the trustees of the Teachers Retirement Board hereby approve the attendance and participation of the executive director and/or her designees and any interested trustee at the National Conference on Public Employees Retirement Systems Annual Conference and Exhibition from May 13th to May 16th, 2018.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution regarding attendance at the NC PERS conference, which is in New York City, I might add, this year?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion regarding attendance at the NC PERS conference, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay.
Next on the agenda is the calendar. You all should have received the calendar electronically. And the first item is the matter of the approval of the TRS Investment Meeting minutes of February 1st, 2018, and the TRS Board Meeting minutes of February 15th, 2018.
Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes from February 1st investment meeting and February 15th board meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Debbie. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the investment meeting minutes of February 1st and the board meeting minutes of February 15th, 2018, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay. So as I said, you all received a copy of the calendar.
Please waive the reading of the calendar.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to adopt the calendar for March 15th, 2018, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is other business. And today we have a presentation by Ellen DeLeo on TRS's strategic planning and reporting.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's my pleasure to be with you here today to present TRS's strategic planning and reporting effort. I'm going to begin with our approach to the development of our current strategic plan, and followed by that, I'm going to give you a brief overview of each of the goals and conclude with a snapshot of our status reporting. In support of our strategic planning, TRS is committed to mature the process of strategic planning with each cycle. So the first thing that we did was we performed a lesson learned. We brought together a group of different groups from across the organization, and we looked at some of the things that we did well, some of the things that we could improve on, some assumptions that either did or didn't prove out over the life of the last planning cycle. And we took all of those, the input, and we did some analysis and formed some conclusions that we brought back to key personnel, and we agreed upon changes that we would apply to the next planning cycle. Among some of the key findings were that we really needed to give greater recognition to some of the other major efforts that were underway that were competing for resources when we decided what we were going to commit to in terms of strategic initiatives in this cycle. And we confirmed that we were going to stick with a longer cycle of 5 years. Some organizations have moved to 3-year cycles or even a 1-year cycle, and if they use a 3 with the refresh, but we've committed to the longer cycle. The second thing we did was establish goals that align with our vision. I believe that you had a presentation on Vision 2020 a few meetings back, and some of the key principles that we took from that we used in this strategic planning cycle were the key principles of being problem solvers, the commitment to straight-through processing, better informed decision-making, continuous quality improvement. And I believe you've all heard the golden rule that we should treat people the way they would want to be treated, but we stepped it up a notch and we're going with the platinum rule, which says that we should treat people the way that they want to be treated. So these are two activities built on the foundation of our strategic plan. And following that, we formed a consensus on what long-term success looked like from different perspectives. And those perspectives are member and stakeholder, financial stewardship, internal business processes, and organizational capacity. We evaluated our capability gap here at TRS, and what we wanted to do was find out what we needed to do to build long-term success. And that's beyond just our business processes, but related to the skills that we need to demonstrate, including greater maturity at an organizational level. And some of these were things like data governance, our business rules and policy management, and agility, the ability to respond to both mandated changes and proactive changes. We formulated our programs with supporting initiatives, ensuring realistic commitments to our initiatives, given the pool of resources in terms of time and people and money. And we set performance measurements based on outcomes rather than just on performing activity, so that we knew what success looked from a qualitative perspective. And we considered major internal and external factors. And some of those major factors were that our modernization effort spans the 5 years, so we wanted to align it with that we didn't see that it would be in our best interest while modernization was still underway to complete a strategic planning cycle and start a new one. We're modernizing our pension administration system. Our 100th anniversary fell during that time period, and that gave us the ability to reflect on the last 100 years, things that we've done well, the commitment that we have to providing our members a secure retirement, and then looking forward to the next 100 years and how we would deliver on that commitment. And some of those include the major changes in members' expectations. Members expect to self-serve. They expect to be able to interact with us anytime from anywhere. People have become accustomed to a paperless transaction. So just some of those things we considered, in addition to a shift towards associates being problem solvers. With our commitment to straight-through processing, the majority of the cases that will be touched by an associate will be more complex cases, and they'll need to bring those to a successful completion and resolve whatever the complexities of that case are. And we are focusing on critical partner relationships. We realize that our members see us as being the one who delivers services, but we're reliant on other organizations, either for payroll or HR data, or for processing our retirement payroll. But they are holding us responsible, so we need to form stronger partnerships with our partners so that they share in that commitment to our members. The last thing that we did was to look at value propositions and determine what we were going to focus on. The 3 value propositions are operational excellence, product leadership, and member intimacy. Conventional wisdom says you can't try to focus on all 3. You should prioritize what you're going to use as the basis for your strategic planning efforts. Product leadership was ruled out because, as a rule, our products are defined by legislation as reflected in our administrative code. So that left us with operational excellence and member intimacy. And we identified operational excellence as being our higher priority. We're not foregoing member intimacy because it says we should come to an industry standard in all 3. So we are going to also consider member intimacy. And as far as operational excellence, that's in our business operations and member services. While for member intimacy, we're going to consider our members' needs when defining and developing our business processes. And one of the key things that we're focusing on is mass customization that's available through technology today. Things like in our service purchases. We used to give our members just a few options on payment terms. Now they can really create their own because technology allows for that. Also, we're expanding the ways that our members can do business with us. We're implementing an electronic payment platform so that they can use other forms of payment. And a third example would be the online death benefit claim process that we're going to be implementing as part of Aspen. So in terms of our goals, we had defined 5 goals. They are at an aspirational level, and they do recognize different perspectives that I mentioned earlier of the member stakeholder, financial stewardship, internal business processes, and organizational capacity. So I'm just going to now walk you through these strategic goals, but I just wanted to say that they support our initiatives that we've defined, and that it helped us to build our playbook or roadmap that will help us to achieve our strategic goals. But before we do that, I'm just going to share with you the critical success factor was the way that we decided that we would define what success looks like. We need to know how are we going to tell if we've achieved our goals. So critical success factors are the things that we must do well in order to know that we've achieved our desired end result. And by defining a few critical success factors for each goal, it'll enable us to measure our progress and recognize achievement. So our first goal of operational excellence is ensuring TRS's ability to meet the expectation of our members through the services that we provide by understanding how we each contribute to that value from the member's perspective. And in terms of the critical success factors that you may not readily be able to understand what they are, in terms of performance measurement design, that's measuring the right things in the right way so that we deliver the needed value to our members. And these are things like key performance indicators that measure the cost of a transaction or time from a perspective of service level agreements. That's when we make a commitment to a member that we're going to turn around and complete your service request in a certain amount of time, that's a service level agreement. In order to achieve that, we have internal operating level agreements, and that's the commitments we make to each other internally. When we bring all those operating level agreement timelines together, it can't exceed the SLA because we've made that commitment to the members. So we're ensuring that both internally to each other, we're keeping our commitments and also keeping them to our members. And also, we're measuring the accuracy and correctness of the service or product that we're delivering to the member. Data information and quality, I'll only touch on that because it's so important to our straight-through processing goals and achieving correct results. And the third one is our partnership independencies, which I spoke about before. And we just need to ensure that the correctness and reliability of results are not negatively impacted by dependencies, and that's either the data or the processing that our partner does on our behalf. And we'll even look to enhance the results, not just to make sure they're not negative, but what we can do to enhance them and foster that joint commitment to meeting our members' needs. Our second goal is the implementation of member-focused service model that enables our members to achieve the maximum benefit from their membership while creating a service management system that improves service and reduces delay. So for that one, I'm just going to touch on member service management. And that's safeguarding that each request is brought to a completeness or a resolution for our service level agreements. And we have 2 parts to that. There's a business service management and an IT service management. And I believe in the coming months you're going to hear about the IT side of the member service management. And then member insight is seeking out and making use of feedback that's provided by the members, and also the use of analytics, looking at our data, having it tell us a story about either past behavior or activities based on events, and to, once we've got that going, to predict future needs and events that we need to be prepared for. In terms of the third goal of a ready, willing, and able workforce, that's committing to human resource related activities and leadership that result in high performance, long-term motivated and successful TRS staff. We need to know that TRS is positioned for success and that associates are engaged and that they have the skills and resources needed to perform to expectation. And in terms of the critical success factors, staff assignments by work type and complexity is important because we need to recognize the difference in the levels of skills and competencies of our associates. It may just be based on the amount of time that they've been here, but we need to recognize it so that our assignments are made that will appropriately challenge each associate while enabling them to accomplish their tasks successfully. And in terms of roles and responsibilities and incentives being aligned, we need to make sure that we're properly communicating what's important to our associates, then measuring and rewarding their performance accordingly. And some of those examples would be accountability and teamwork and valuing collaboration over competition. Our fourth goal of maximizing the value proposition is to demonstrate fiscal responsibility while accomplishing goals by providing productivity improvements that strive to realize the most out of every dollar spent. And the critical success factors I would highlight here are our workflow tool enablement, and that is commonly known as business process management, but ours goes beyond that, and it incorporates a business rules engine so that it is actually adhering to our business rules while it's enabling the workflow of a single transaction when a member makes requests from the minute they initiate it through to completion. And in terms of human-centric development, this is considering when you build a system that people interact with that system and they have behaviors that you need to support. You can't, if you try to force people to behave differently, you run the risk of having them make errors. And an example would be in a system if somebody was starting to work on a transaction, and this could be the member or an internal TRS associate. And if they need to stop for some reason and suspend what they're doing, it needs to be able to support that, save the work, and let them resume later. They may need to go collect some information that they don't have there. So they need to be able to do that and not have a timeout. And if you didn't support that, you run the risk of maybe they make up the information or maybe they rush through it. So you have a risk that the processing wouldn't be correct if you forced somebody to work in a way other than they would normally.
Let me just really emphasize that. I'm sure other folks here have had that experience where you get timed out in the middle and you lose the work. In fact, the Department of Finance has that problem on its property tax. Have you had that problem? Yeah.
No, it's you pay your property taxes quarterly, and each time you need to come up with a new username and password. So each time you pay, you come up with a new password.
I did this thing where you challenge your assessment, and it's a lot of information you have to enter, and boom, time's out, and you have to start all over again. I also just had the problem, I know everybody's fascinated by this, with my bracket on ESPN, where I stopped in the middle, and then I went back to it, and boom, it was gone. It's like really frustrating.
And on the record.
John, you may want to take that as a sign that your bracket in the first place may not have been too well.
I'm sure it's broken already.
It was blown already.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and our final goal is the improved life cycle management, and that's to effectively target member segments to increase enrollment and participation throughout their membership life cycle to maximize benefits and better meet the unique needs of varied member segments. And I would highlight within that the defined stages of membership life cycle or persona, and that's segmenting that goes beyond age and length of membership and other characteristics that you can readily identify. And it considers where the person is in their life also, in their life circumstances. And an example I'll give you is that when you might have two 25-year-olds and you compare them, they probably look very familiar. They're both very early in their career. They're probably either single or maybe newly married. But when you take those two and when you move them through life, and now they're 55 to 60, their lives probably look very different. They may have made different choices, and now their needs are very different. So by developing personas that go beyond just the demographics that we collect, and letting members enroll, perhaps we'll define personas and let them enroll in the persona that they feel most closely matches their circumstances, it will enable us to segment them and target our offerings to them. And to that, I would touch on value creation and delivery, and that's tailoring our offerings and communications to these different segments in order to be the most effective at meeting their unique needs. So now that I've gone through the goals, I have put together a slide of our strategic programs and initiatives. We have 3 major programs that are made up of 27 different initiatives. I'm not really going to go into any detail because I believe you're going to receive presentations on either the different programs or some of the initiatives within this. And again, the Vision 2020 was one of the initiatives that you had heard previously. But just to give you an idea of the scope of work that we have committed to. And in terms of our strategic plan reporting, we're going to use the balanced scorecard methodology to align and measure progress. We feel that if you look at these 4 perspectives and you address these 4 perspectives, you're going to maximize both effectiveness and efficiency in the efforts. So we define measures for each initiative, and the initiative measurements are based on what is called the RAG scale, red, amber, and green. I'll start with green, which indicates that an effort is going along perfect, no issues. Amber says it might have a few issues or risks that seem to be coming to fruition that we need to start planning for to mitigate. And red means that the effort has some real challenges and we need to make a great effort to either reassess the effort or bring it back onto track. Okay, so here is just a snapshot of a strategic plan report, and I've just taken out 3 initiatives within each of the different programs. And what this shows you is that we've defined measures that we can put targets behind so that we can say whether we're on track for them or not. And the measures here, like we'll go through the organizational change, management, and Vision 2020. Our measures decreased redundant efforts, elimination of gaps, and clear accountability for business processes. And this one is from the perspective of internal business process, and it's about efficiency. So we can actually capture specific and measurable progress. And here, the second one is that it's in progress. The RAG shows that it's green and all is going well, that it's stable. For modernization, we have an operational readiness effort that's underway to support the delivery of Aspen. And that measures the availability of work aids that provide quick reference in the days following implementation as users begin using the new system. And that's in progress, and that's also green and stable. The third is our facilities expansion and rebuild and the new member education facility. Our measure being increased educational opportunities for members as measured by number of members that attend educational sessions in comparison to prior period before the rebuild. Now this effort is complete. It completed in good status, and it is stable. So that is what I had to share with you. I don't know if you have any.
I just have a question about the very last facilities expansion rebuild. Do you have numbers in terms of the increase in members that have taken advantage of educational sessions, or does anybody?
I will defer to Robert
And maybe I
or
can
Thad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any specific numbers off the top of my head, but what I can say is the number of members that attend each of the sessions has basically doubled. In the past, we had capacity for 35 members, so for each of the classes. Now, practically, it's double that amount at each of the sessions.
The other thing I might add, John, is we talk about that being complete. We talk about the physical construction being complete, and we started probably in October, kind of a soft opening. So the number of people that are going, it's an evolving matter.
I see. Okay. So the measure. So in other words, the measure is still. We don't have apples to apples comparisons yet because it hasn't been a full cycle or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
We started, as I said, with a soft opening in October.
Right.
So the physical part is essentially done.
Right.
Now we're moving to that next phase.
Great. I for one would be interested when you have comparison numbers to share to see them.
Right.
we'll do that, since we authorized a lot of money for the expanded space and rebuild. Yeah, great, thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Oh, so the next item on the agenda is, I just wanted to let you know that I'm just noting that we distributed the annual statement of the Teachers Retirement System annual statement to the board. All right, you will receive that. So I'm just noting that. And then 7 is questions or comments from the public.
Any questions or comments from the public?
Public has all questions.
No questions from the public this time.
I'd like to say something.
Thank you,
John.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to say something.
Oh, yes, Mr. Brown.
This past Saturday, March 10th, the UFT hosted its annual paraprofessional event / breakfast lunch at the New York Hilton, and close to 1,000 paraprofessionals came, many of whom are TRS members. And I'd like to thank the staff at the Teachers Retirement System. Robert put together a staff of people who came and participated and presented at our meeting. The staff presented 2 90-minute sessions on pension, and each session was well attended by the paraprofessionals. We also had an exhibit area where a table was set up, and there were staff, TRS staff there, answering questions and giving out little gifts, which, a long line to get these gifts. I think it was a nice salad container, which I took one too. So we can't thank you enough. Robert, you put together a team. Daniel was there, and Roland, and Monique, and the other Monique, and Lorraine, and Pendele, and Raphael was there, and these people treat our members like royalty, and they really connect with our members. They come, they're professional, they're well dressed, they're knowledgeable. So we thank you for participating in our annual event, and we feel a connection. The 3 teacher members, thank you, and all of our members, because everyone loves TRS. And your reputation is paramount. So on the record, thank you. Thank you to the staff, and thank you to Robert Bethelmy and your crew, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'll sure to pass that on to our member education group, Monique, and her staff who represented us at the event.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? I think that concludes our agenda for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.